Have you ever woken up feeling that even after 8 hours of sleep, your soul still feels exhausted? It's as if there's an invisible weight on your shoulders that you can't quite explain to anyone, but it keeps you from moving freely. Maybe you're living on autopilot, going through the motions, smiling at people, while inside there's only one cry: I can't take it anymore. If you feel overwhelmed, know that this exhaustion isn't a wrong turn, it's a sign. And today I want to show you that the most important man in history extended a specific invitation to you, exactly as you are right now. It's not about religion. It's about real relief. We live in an era of constant noise. We are bombarded with information, the pressure to be productive, and the endless comparison of social media. This environment has created a generation that isn't just physically tired, but emotionally and spiritually depleted. Physical tiredness can be fixed with a night's sleep, but what about a weary soul? The kind that makes your chest tighten first thing in the morning? Over 2,000 years ago, Jesus looked at a crowd that looked a lot like you do today. People who were under the weight of suffocating religious rules, the economic crises of the time, and the harshness of daily life. It was in this setting that he spoke the words that have echoed through the centuries. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. But stop for a second and think about the depth of that sentence. Jesus didn't say, come to me once you've solved your problems. He didn't say, come when you're strong and have your life together. The invitation is specifically for the moment of crisis. It's an invitation for the now. The first step to understanding what Jesus wants to give you today is identifying what kind of burden you're carrying. Sometimes our load isn't work, but the guilt of past mistakes. Other times, it's the weight of trying to be perfect to please people who will never be satisfied. Or maybe it's anxiety about the future, trying to carry tomorrow's weight before it even gets here. Jesus uses the word burdened. In the original Greek, this word refers to a pack animal that has been loaded with more weight than its frame can handle. Do you feel like your frame is about to break? That you passed your limit a long time ago? If so, understand that the first secret to relief isn't doing more, it's going to Jesus. The solution for burnout isn't a time management technique, it's a spiritual connection. In this first part of our journey, I want you to simply recognize that weight. Don't try to hide it. Admitting you're tired isn't a sign of weak faith, it's a sign of being human. And it is exactly to this weary humanity that the kingdom of God opens its doors. When Jesus says, come to me, he is proposing a change of environment for your soul. The biggest problem for someone who is overwhelmed is that the mind becomes a battlefield where the enemy is your own thoughts. Have you noticed that when we are exhausted, we don't just carry the problem, we become the problem? We replay debts, conflicts, and uncertainties hundreds of times a day, as if worrying excessively could actually solve anything. But the truth is, come to me is a command to take your eyes off the burden and fix them on the source. But why is it so hard to accept this invitation? Why, even after hearing these words, does your chest still feel tight? Often, what prevents us from finding rest is pride disguised as responsibility. We've been taught that rest is a sign of laziness and that carrying the world on our shoulders is proof of our worth. We get addicted to the adrenaline of stress, and deep down we're afraid to let go of the weight because we believe that if we stop holding it all together, our lives, our families, or our careers will fall apart. Jesus understands this fear. He knows your load is heavy because you're trying to be your own savior, your own provider, and your own protector, all at the same time. Think about it. Jesus was speaking to people living under a suffocating religious system. There were rules about what to eat, how to dress, and how to act that turned their relationship with God into an unbearable burden. Maybe your religion today is toxic productivity or the constant need for approval on social media. This come to me is, in fact, a cry for freedom. Stop trying to achieve peace through exhausting human effort. Come to where grace operates. In practice, this means understanding that prayer or your devotional time isn't just another task on your to-do list. It's the place where you finally take off the backpack. Imagine you're carrying a 100-pound suitcase down a deserted road, and suddenly, someone pulls over and offers you a ride. What many of us do is get in the car, sit on the seat, but keep holding that heavy suitcase on our laps, letting the weight crush our legs for the entire trip. Jesus is looking at you right now and saying, "Drop the suitcase on the floor of my car. I'm the driver, I know the way, and I am strong enough to carry both you and whatever is troubling you." The exhaustion you feel today might be the result of trying to maintain a mask, the weight of having to be perfect, the weight of not being allowed to fail, the weight of carrying the expectations of people who don't even care about you. Jesus calls you to come as you are, confused, weak, and even lacking faith. Real relief doesn't start when the problem disappears, but when you realize you no longer have to carry that problem alone. But here is the mystery that makes many people pull back. Right after offering rest, Jesus mentions a work tool. He talks about a yoke. And if you're exhausted, the idea of carrying something else sounds absurd, doesn't it? Why would Jesus, who promised relief, now want you to take something onto your shoulders? This is exactly where the secret to never living depleted again lies, and understanding what this yoke of Jesus is will completely change how you handle the pressures of your daily life. Jesus just promised relief, but in the very next breath he says, "Take my yoke upon you." If you're exhausted, the last thing you want to hear is that you need to carry something new. In our modern language, the word yoke sounds like slavery, like a chain, like something that will strip away our autonomy and trap us even further. But to understand the relief Jesus offers, you have to forget the dictionary definition and understand the technology of that time. A yoke was a wooden beam, hand-carved, designed to join two animals, usually oxen, so they could pull a plow or a wagon together. When Jesus offers his yoke, he isn't giving you a new list of religious duties or more obligations for your already crowded day. He is making a proposal of partnership. Imagine two animals pulling a heavy load. If one is young, inexperienced, and scared, and the other is a veteran, strong and calm, who do you think is doing the real heavy lifting? The veteran. The younger animal simply walks alongside, learning the rhythm and being guided by the master's strength. What Jesus is telling you right now, in the middle of your anxiety attack or your professional burnout, is, stop trying to pull the plow of your life alone. Step in here under this piece of wood right beside me. I will set the pace, I will absorb the impact of the uphill climb, and you will simply walk with me. The exhaustion that is killing you today doesn't just come from overworking. It comes from being joined to the wrong yokes. Without realizing it, you've yoked yourself to social approval, where you have to perform to be accepted. You've yoked yourself to perfectionism, where any mistake feels like the end of the world. These yokes are cruel. They weren't made for your anatomy. They chafe the skin and deplete the soul. Jesus claims that his yoke is easy. In the original Greek, the word used is krestos, which means well-fitted or custom-made. It's like that piece of clothing that fits so well you don't even feel you're wearing it, or that pair of shoes that feels like an extension of your own foot. When you accept walking with Christ, you don't stop having responsibilities, but you stop carrying what isn't yours. You stop carrying the weight of others' judgment, the weight of trying to control the future, and the weight of having to be self-sufficient all the time. Walking in this yoke means changing your speed. The world demands that you sprint, that you trample over your sleep, that you sacrifice your mental health for the next rung on the ladder. Jesus has a steady, constant pace. Beside him, you discover that it's possible to be productive without being frantic. You discover that peace isn't the absence of work, but the presence of the right company while you work. However, for this yoke to truly bring the promised relief, there is a process that cannot be skipped. Jesus doesn't just say, "Carry it." He says, "Learn from me." There is something about Jesus, in the way he saw the world and people, that is the exact antidote to your internal turmoil. And what he reveals about his own heart is what will finally disarm the stress bombs that go off in your mind every single day. The sentence that follows the invitation of the yoke is perhaps the most revealing insight into mental health in the entire Bible. "Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." Stop for a moment and reflect on that. Jesus could have said, "Learn from me, for I am the creator of galaxies," or "Learn from me, for I am all-powerful." But to heal the weariness of our souls, he chooses to reveal his personality through two specific traits, gentleness and humility. Why? Because the root of our overwhelm, more often than not, lies in the exact opposite of these two virtues. What exhausts us isn't just a busy schedule, it's pride and resistance. We get tired because we want things to happen our way, on our timeline, and under our control. When life doesn't follow our script, we fight against reality, and that fight drains our energy. The humility Jesus proposes is the cure for the savior complex that makes us believe we are solely responsible for the success of everything around us. To be humble in the biblical sense is to accept that we are not God. It's understanding that there is a limit to what we can do and that it's okay not to handle everything on our own. When you embrace humility, the weight of having to be the hero falls away, and a restorative silence begins to fill the space where anxiety once lived. And what about gentleness? Gentleness is not passivity or weakness. Gentleness is strength under control. It's the ability to remain calm even when chaos is knocking at the door. Jesus was gentle because he fully trusted the Father. He knew that regardless of the storm on the Sea of Galilee or the betrayal of a friend, the bigger plan was secure. Your exhaustion today is, in large part, a lack of gentleness. You react to every problem as if it were a 5-alarm fire. You waste emotional energy defending yourself from criticism, worrying about what people think of you, and trying to force doors that are closed. By saying, "Learn from me," Jesus is inviting us into a school of unlearning. We need to unlearn the culture of hurry, unlearn the need for self-validation, and unlearn the habit of carrying guilt that has already been forgiven. To learn the gentleness of Jesus is to learn how to breathe in the middle of the fire. It's discovering that you can be productive without being reactive. It's understanding that peace isn't something you build with your own hands through effort, but something you receive when you stop fighting against what you cannot change. This shift in mindset is what truly switches off the survival mode in your brain. As long as you try to be the master of your own destiny, your mind will never have rest, because the world is far too uncertain to be controlled by a human being. The moment you look at the heart of Jesus and decide to mirror his posture toward life, something supernatural happens to your emotional physiology. But make no mistake, this relief isn't just a fleeting feeling of well-being. Jesus makes a final promise that goes far beyond simply feeling better. He speaks of a rest that reaches layers of our existence that even the best psychologist or the strongest medication cannot reach. And it is precisely about how to access this deep and lasting rest, which he calls rest for your souls, that we are going to explore now, because there is a vital difference between sleeping and actually resting. We've reached the point where Jesus' promise hits its deepest root. He says, "And you will find rest for your souls." It is fundamental to notice that Jesus doesn't promise rest for your body, nor necessarily a break in your calendar. He promises rest for your soul. There is a world of difference between sleeping and resting. You've probably had the experience of sleeping for 10 hours straight and waking up feeling like a truck ran over you. This happens because your body shut down, but your soul kept working. Your mind kept processing traumas, projecting fears, and trying to solve problems that you have no power to solve. Soul weariness is what modern science calls burnout, generalized anxiety, or chronic fatigue. But to Jesus, this is the result of a soul that has lost its anchor. The human soul was designed to function in connection with the Creator. When we try to live independently, relying only on our own resources, our soul enters overheat mode. Sounds like an engine being forced to run without oil. It's going to make noise, it's going to get hot, and eventually it will seize up. The rest Jesus offers is the oil for the gears of your existence. In Greek, the word used for rest here is anapausis. It doesn't just mean stopping an activity, but rather a recovery of strength or refreshment. It's the image of a traveler who, in the middle of a scorching desert, finds cool shade and a spring of crystal clear water. He didn't stop walking forever. He stopped to be renewed so he could continue the journey with new energy. Jesus doesn't want you to become a passive person who does nothing with their life. He wants you to be a person who does a lot, but from a place of internal rest. Often we try to heal soul weariness with the wrong tools. We try entertainment, binge-watching shows, expensive trips, or even habits that numb us for a few hours. But notice, these things are just distractions, they aren't rest. When the movie ends or the trip is over, the weight returns with the same intensity, Or maybe even worse, because now you have the weight of an emotional or financial hangover. Jesus' rest is the only one that is self-sustaining because it doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's a peace you carry within you while facing traffic, while dealing with a difficult boss, or while walking through grief. This rest for the soul begins when you understand that your value isn't in what you do, but in who you are to God. The world tells you that you are what you produce, what you earn, or what you look like. Jesus tells you that you are a beloved child for whom he gave his own life. When this truth moves from your head to your heart, the frantic effort to prove your worth to others finally stops. You stop running to be accepted and start walking because you've already been accepted. But if this rest is so wonderful and available to everyone, why do so many people, even inside churches, continue to live on the edge of a nervous breakdown? Why does the feeling of being overwhelmed seem to be the rule rather than the exception? There is one final barrier, one last wall we need to tear down so that this refreshment moves from the pages of the Bible and becomes the reality of your daily breath. The final barrier that prevents us from living in this rest is our insistence on living in tomorrow. Jesus knew that the human mind is a machine built to anticipate problems. That's why the rest he offers is an invitation to today. To sustain this peace in a chaotic world, you must understand that Jesus' burden is light because he only asks you to carry what fits into the next 24 hours. Burnout happens when you try to carry the weight of an entire month in a single day. Walking with Jesus in a practical way means starting every morning by handing him your ledger of anxieties. Before you open social media or check your emails, open your heart. Tell him, "Lord, today I step into your yoke. I don't know how to resolve this conflict or how I'm going to pay that bill, but I know you are pulling the plow with me. I will do my part with dedication, but the final result I place in your hands." This small prayer of surrender isn't just positive thinking. It's an act of war against anxiety. It's deciding that you won't fight a battle that isn't yours to fight. Living in this rest also requires you to learn to be gentle with yourself. Often, we are our own harshest judges. We beat ourselves up for not being happy all the time, for feeling afraid, or for being tired. Jesus, being the King of the universe, described himself as gentle and humble. If God himself treats you with such kindness, why do you treat yourself with such harshness? Rest for the soul flourishes in the soil of self-compassion and the acceptance that we are limited yet deeply loved. Don't wait for your circumstances to change before you accept the invitation of Matthew 11:28. Relief isn't just at the end of the tunnel, it is the light that accompanies you through the tunnel. Jesus didn't promise that the sea would become calm instantly, but he promised that even in the storm, you could sleep in the boat because he is there. That is supernatural rest, having a peaceful soul while the world outside is screaming. It's knowing that no matter what happens, you are no longer alone in the struggle. Today we've walked a deep path to understand the words of Jesus. First, we identified that the weight you carry often isn't yours, but the result of external pressures and the pride of trying to solve everything alone. Then, we understood the secret of the yoke, surrendering to Christ, where he handles the heavy lifting, while we learn his gentle rhythm. And finally, we discovered that real rest isn't the absence of work, but the renewal of the soul through humility and full trust in him. If this video brought even a little relief to your chest and helped you see a way out of this exhaustion, I want to extend an invitation to you. Don't keep this peace all to yourself. Like this video, this helps YouTube understand that this message is important and helps get it to more people who are also exhausted and in need of a word of hope today. Subscribe to the channel. Here every week we strive to bring the teachings of Jesus into the real-world challenges of our minds and our daily lives. Join this community as we seek balance between faith and mental health. Share it. You know that person who is overwhelmed, who isn't sleeping well, or who is going through a moment of burnout. Send this video to them right now. It might be the cup of cold water their soul needs. Thank you for walking with me this far. Remember, you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. Jesus already did that for you. Go in peace, and I'll see you in the next video.